fighting against multiple opponents. Is this really impossible? Is this really such a great lie? Or is it actually possible and plausible? To be honest with you, today's topic made me a little maudlin, because it made me remember those times in my teens where we were watching all those Bruce Lee films and martial arts films. They were really, I was a teenager in the 90s, and that's when Bruce Lee was still a big hit and everyone wanted to be like him, and we were all going to different martial arts practicing. Some of us practiced karate like I did, some other friends practiced kung fu, and other friends were into kickboxing, others were boxers, and then we would all meet up and fight and spar and share techniques, and it was a lot of fun. Back then, that's what we did. We had a significant group. We had people practicing lots of different styles of karate, and we had people practicing judo, people practicing jujitsu, or jujutsu like they say in Japan. But as you know, lately I've been focusing a lot more in my life with weapon-based martial arts, such as historical European martial arts, kenjutsu, kendo. So this question, I think, can apply to both. Is it possible to fight multiple opponents? Well, you see, we have heard lots of different theories. I mean, you've got this exaggerated theory that we see in films where you get like one martial artist taking on 10 people, 2 of which have got weapons, 1 has got a gun, and he's doing all these kicks and punches and he gets them all down. And I think that's obviously fantasy. But you also have the other opposite opinion, and I remember there is a very famous video, I think it went viral, or if it's not viral, it's still very famous, about these 2 Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners who I respect thoroughly. I think they are fantastic fighters, but they say basically it's a myth and you should run for your life when you are outnumbered, because it's basically impossible. Now, I think the reality, the real fact, lies in between. Enough with the headgear. What I mean by that is that it really depends who is attacking who, and the whole background and context that we see, that we try to imagine this. So we can't give like a quick yes, of course it can be done, but we can't say no, it's impossible either, in my humble opinion. So let me elaborate a little bit. Martial arts really have to do with the athlete first and foremost. So you can have the most effective martial system and still have a practitioner of that system being weak and not effective at all, because it really has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with how hard you train as a martial artist. It has to do with genetics as well, with your body. There are lots of different components. We add the techniques, and of course some styles are more effective than others at doing certain things. For example, a style which is based mostly on sport combat will be effective at that, so within its rules and regulations, but it might not be effective on the streets. And on the flip side, it might have a style which is incredibly effective on the streets, such as, for example, we could say MMA, we could say Sistema. There are lots of fighting styles, Krav Maga, that are effective. It's very street based, and of course MMA still has rules, but hey, I've never practiced it, and it's not really my cup of tea, but I've got a lot of respect for MMA fighters. As I said, I'm a Kyokushin karate practitioner, but lots of respect for MMA fighters, really tough guys for the majority of cases, I would say, because it's a very complete and round style. You learn ground fight, you learn stand combat, and again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I think is a fantastic and very effective martial art. But these styles might not perform well if given the rule sets of a certain Olympic or whatever sport situation. So I think each sport has got its own effectiveness, an area of efficacy. But let's say that we've got an average practitioner of a martial art. Average, okay? So he knows his techniques. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. He has got good body, but not perfect. He's got good stretching, but not perfect. And then he's surrounded on the streets. How is he going to perform? And the reason why I've chosen a medium guy rather than an amazing guy or a weak guy is because I think with the other two, the answer might be rather obvious. If the guy is really weak, then no, he might even lose on one-on-one. And if the guy is really good, then he will probably win. And I will expand on this because this one needs a little bit of further explanation. But for the average guy, I think that's where the context of the situation really is important, because the fact that you have 3 people against 1 doesn't automatically mean that the 3 guys will overpower the 1 just because there is 3 of them. For example, I don't consider myself to be a strong person as far as hand-to-hand combat is concerned. I consider myself to be a little bit more on the weak side. I still have a lot of experience and a lot of training to do. I'm not like the weakest. I have managed to kick my sensei in the face, which sort of made me feel proud. Not so much when he retaliated after that, but hey, that was still nice. I remember when I was practicing WTF Taekwondo, I did manage to play some good hits, but at the same time, I think that probably I have a win-lose ratio, which is definitely more towards the lose, because I'm not very strong at all. But so let's say that one of these 3 has got some martial art experience, like me, so like average to low level. Okay, I've only practiced like martial arts, hand-to-hand martial arts for 5 years, and I think I still have a lot of time, a lot to go. I've only got a green belt, so he has fought a little bit, but not particularly strong. This is one of them. The other 2 have no experience whatsoever. For one, it's the first time ever to get into a brawl, an actual street fight, and the other one has got some experience. He has fought a few times on the streets, but he's rather weak and it doesn't have a lot of body mass. So you get these 3 and you put them against a medium experienced martial artist. What happens there is, first off, the guy who has no experience whatsoever, he might even freeze. He might not know what to do. He might, sort of look, perhaps go in there, but then he's scared. He doesn't know. And the other guy, he's punching and kicking. So we could already consider that one of the 3 is not going to be particularly effective. The one who has got some experience, he's no match for the guy who with average ability in martial arts. So the only one that could actually take him down is the 3rd one. So do they have an advantage in the fact that they can all attack at the same time? Yes, but are they really going to do it? Because again, this is you have to consider that when you get into a street fight, and unfortunately I have, when that happens, you are scared. You might be on a rage because something happened and you are on a rage, and then in that case perhaps fear won't be part of the equation. But in the majority of cases, your heartbeat is going up, you are afraid, you want to go home. So if you see an easy situation, perhaps you get in, you throw a kick, you throw a punch, or you try to tackle him, but if he retaliates and he manages to hit you here and you just cut your lip, you're starting to see blood, you're going away. So of course the guy can be put down, the average martial artist. It can happen. Maybe out of the 3, the one with some experience manages to hit him hard in the face, and perhaps he will go down. But as we go further up with martial experience training and body training, I think the higher will be the chance of the person being attacked by multiple opponents to actually win. So is this something I consider to be easy? No, because so don't go lightly. Don't use this video as a way to sort of pump up your confidence, and then you go out and start fighting 5 people bigger than you, 2 of which have got Muay Thai experience. They're going to destroy you, going to wipe the floor with you. But I'm just saying that we shouldn't, it's a very complex situation because there are too many variables. So let's take a few others into consideration. So now we've got a highly experienced martial artist, one of those cage MMA fighters, like Jean-Pierre, I think, what was his name? He's my favorite, actually. Like really strong, really tough, knows how to fight on the ground, knows how to fight knows how to perform locks and stuff, knows how to hit, knows how to be hit. He can take a few hits. He's strong, he's trained, and you've got multiple opponents attacking him. Now, first question, how many people? Because if you've got one-on-one on the street against someone who has no training, that guy is down. It's like having me fighting against an MMA guy of these top performance, top-notch level guys. I stand no chance. And when I say this, it's because when I was practicing Kyokushin Karate, I had this experience, because Kyokushin Karate is full contact. Full contact means that even if I hit you, if you don't feel it, no points, okay? So, and that's different from other styles, because I did practice other styles of karate like Shotokan, where it's karate point. So it happens sometimes, I kicked him with a yokogeri, the lateral kick in the stomach, and then they stopped the fight, give me the point. But he was fine. He didn't even feel it. So if they had let him continue, probably would have KO'd me. But the system is not like that. It's like the one who hits first, you scream, you do what you need to do, the technique is performed well, you do it first, you get the point. But with full contact karate, that's not how it works. And of course, it's the same in all full contact martial arts. You need to have your opponent go down because he can't take because you hit him hard. So what happened to me is that I was fighting against this black belt. I was sparring with a black belt. Now, this guy was more muscular than me, and I'm saying a lot more muscular than me. He was very athletic, had very good stretching. He could easily reach my head with his kicks. He had a lot of combat experience, and holy moly, his arms and shins were like stone. So when I fought him, I am not kidding you, when I attacked, I hurt myself. So imagine that on the streets. Like, honestly, if he stood like this, okay, unless I hit him in the frigging testicles, or I don't know, maybe very strong under his chin, unless I did that, that guy was not going down, and I would hurt myself. Like I remember I kicked with a low kick, mawashigeri, so roundhouse, low kick, and we hit shin against shin. I am so grateful I didn't go full force, because it would have broken my bone. Like, honestly, I couldn't walk. I had to stop sparring. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm down. Now KO. I self-KO'd me, and I'm not the only one who does this. It happens. And again, if you look at MMA fights and kickboxing fights, sometimes you see that it happens. So other times I hit him really hard on the body, nothing. He didn't feel it. And when he hit me, nonetheless, he hit me here, where your kidneys are on your back, and gosh, it hurt. Like I couldn't even breathe. Now imagine a guy like that fighting against even 3 people like me. Yes, we can hate him if we all attack him at the same time, but we're gonna hurt ourselves in the process. So it really has to do with who is fighting who. Now, of course, if you have 10 people, they can all actually grab him, and that's the end probably of it. But I'm saying that, but again, who are these 10 people? Can they all attack at the same time? When you see, because before they can grab Mike Tyson, okay, these 10 people, they can grab Mike Tyson and put him down. But before they do that, I am sure he's going to one-shot a couple of them. One of those boom super punches. So out of these 10 people, now 8 are left. How much morale do they have? Because they have just seen their friends with a broken jaw, probably the teeth on the floor, blood all over the place. I think a few of those 10 might think, never mind, I'm going home. I'm not fighting this guy. He's a freaking machine. So again, from 10, you go 8, then perhaps you go what? 5. So 5 are the actually committed. And again, we need to ask ourselves, how many of these 5 can actually hurt him? So out of these 5, let's say only 3 are really combat effective. 2 are freaking, nothing. They are not going to do nothing against him. So and now it's a 3 against 1, not a 10 against 1. Of course, another situation, are there weapons involved? You see, and the weapons are really the game changer here, because with a weapon, whether it be a knife, a shiv, whether it be whatever, a big wooden plank, whatever you're using, when you have a weapon, is the way you sort of equalize the difference in the amount of damage you can deal with your attacks to your opponent. So I think that that's the case where multiple opponents using weapons. So that's when I would run. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not advocating fight, stay there. I'm always, as I said on my video, Knife Fights Beware of Lies, I do advocate people get out of fights 99.9% of chances, situations. But now I'm hypothetically speaking. So a situation where you've got these, I don't know, 3 guys, and they are picking on your sister, your little sister, and they have taken her. What are you going to do? You can't run away in that situation. So so hypothetically speaking, is it really that impossible? And again, it depends who you are. And what is important though with any skill, and this is very important, please, if you don't want to watch, if you have borrowed on me, please listen to this very last thing, because it's really important. And then if you want, you can click away, no problem. But what I'm trying to say is, don't overestimate yourself, okay? So here I'm talking about people with years and years and years of training. Often when we are still intermediate with any skill, including linguistic skills, and I'm a language teacher, we don't have the ability to really understand our own level. So what majority of beginners do, the mistake the majority of beginners do, or the majority of beginners make, there you go, that's a mistake, the majority of beginners make, is that they think they're better than they actually are, because they don't understand, they can't grasp how many things are there still to be learned. So again, this is very common. Perhaps being too confident is wrong. So again, the balance is very important. There is a Buddhist principle on this, and it's the principle of balance and equilibrium. So if you have a harp, okay, someone playing the harp, if he touches and pinches the chords too lightly, they won't produce any sound, but if he uses too much strength, they will break. So I think again, in between, the equilibrium is in the middle. You need to be able to really understand and estimate the situation, and understand, I can't take on these guys, I gotta go. If your sister is not there, if your sister is there, I'm saying frigging call the police and fight. But and on the other hand, if there are other situations, might elaborate that it's something that can be done. So, but again, if we are talking hypothetically, so not you, but hypothetically, I'm saying there is a situation, the guy is being cornered and he's got a fight. Who is this guy and who are the people fighting him? With weapon-based martial arts, the situation is slightly different, because what you're going to understand is, we did mention that weapons are the big game changer, but that's because in the majority of cases, thugs have got weapons, standard people don't. I'm not saying all cases is like this. I know that some people are allowed in their countries to bring knives, to bring guns, whatever, but I'm saying that majority of cases, the good guy who's just going to work, he's not going around armed, and perhaps the thugs instead, who are going around because they want to rob people, or they want to attack people, or whatever, they are on drugs, whatever they're doing, they are armed. So there is definitely a higher chance that the defendant, the person who's been attacked, has no weapons. Now, that's for hand-to-hand combat. But what about historical combat? So when we talk about medieval times and medieval combat, of course, if you're talking about the context of war, or the context of duel, in both situations, all parties will have weapons. Now, depending on how much wealth the person in question has, or how wealthy the person in question is, then you might have better weapons and against bad weapons, or low quality weapons, or ineffective weapons, definitely. But let's say that now we've got a person using a sword, okay, which is an excellent dual weapon, not really a battlefield weapon, a backup weapon on the battlefield, so something that would be there but not primary weapon. And then you've got like 3 people who have got swords as well, maybe not as good, but they have still got swords. So with weapons is problematic, because yes, in both cases, whether it be martial arts, hand-to-hand combat martial arts, or weapon-based martial arts, you need a lot of years of training to sort of get your body in shape, get your body effective, learn the techniques and everything. But with weapons, your ability to cause damage is sort of, it goes up super quick as compared to your ability to actually hurt someone with a punch or with a kick. It's easier if compared to other weapons to hurt someone. Anyone can hurt someone with a weapon, okay? Not everyone can hurt someone badly, with a punch or with a kick, because it depends who the other person is. But this is going to cut through pretty much everyone. Now, again, one-on-one, if there is a guy with really good techniques and a guy with really low techniques, I would say 9 times out of 10, the guy who's got lots of training and lots of sparring experience will win. But when you start multiplying the ability of the attackers to deal damage with this, and again it's very easy to damage a person's body with a sword, then this is starting to become a problem really quickly. So I think that the situation is more problematic when you have weapons involved. But this is when in the equation I would add the concept of armor. What about a fully armored knight against opponents with no armor but weapons? Well, this is interesting. Can 3 peasants take on a knight? Probably not. Can 10 peasants take on a knight? Yes, probably. So there is really the situation of the number, and again, similarly to the situation before, who these people are. But if they all got weapons, armor gives you an enormous advantage against your opponent. If your opponents have no armor and you have armor, and you are a frigging killing machine. But there is a number in which depends on a lot of variables. Again, I just said yes, 10 peasants could take on a knight. Again, depending on a lot of situation. Who are these peasants? Maybe a couple are maybe teenagers. They don't really count. So it really depends. But I'm saying 10 strong men with weapons might take on a knight. Yes, they could. Because they can grab him, that's a thing. But a few of them will go down. There are a lot of variables, a lot of situations we need to take into consideration. We can't really, I did say 10 people could, but as I said, it really depends on the details of who these people are. If they manage to attack all together, if they all realize that the situation is degenerating into a fight, if they realize into an altercation which involves life and death, because you do need to realize that. It might take a few seconds, and in a few seconds a knight with a sword might take down a couple of them. And again, what weapons are they using? Are they using weapons that are effective against armor? There are a lot of things, but if the number becomes too overwhelming, then the knight in armor will go down. Give a conclusion to this very long video. The number of assailants will dramatically determine and affect the result of any altercation. But there are a lot of variables which need to be taken into consideration before we can say yes, no, they can win, they can't win, etc. And that was the only point really that I wanted to draw with this video. Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed this, and let me know what you think, if you agree with me with your own experience in martial arts or perhaps even street combat. And I'll be looking forward to read your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread its wings. Goodbye. Stay safe.